after. It is more sure. Right. It's not
All
even
right, we're
really.
having the after conversation, and this is what I'm saying. The after is, and so there was a question that was asked is, so in the podcast, Ben talked about, parents being happy. And so I find that humorous. Like I think that's the funniest thing in the world. I think that's so cute and so cool. So it reminds me of once I was coming home from from a coffee connection with my wife. So a couple of the kids were still at home or getting off the interstate, and she says, you're not a happy person. And I started laughing. I said, really? And she's like, yeah, you're not a happy person. I said, well, that's interesting. Like, why would you say that? She shared it didn't really make any sense to me. But I'm like, okay. I said, what's weird, honey, is I might be the happiest sad person in the world, and you might be the saddest, happiest person in the world. Does anybody know, what the way to convey that you're happy and excited and it's just like life is so cool. Does anybody know how to do that? Like, what was Rosanna's secret? It's like she was the positive, she was the happy parent, she was the one that, she was the one that the kids loved talking to and all of that kind of stuff. Do you know how to do that as a parent?
Well, can you see her? Can you see her?
So this is what Daniel does to me too. I like
Okay,
this.
so it's smile. It's smile. I don't know. I'm just saying. Like I feel like I've triggered a nerve. I feel like I hit something, which is always good on a podcast. Always good. A little bit of confrontation.
Like, this, I'm
Well, I can
so
validate that, Ben, because I was told that since they walk in the front door and I don't have a big smile on my face and I'm all giddy, 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 that I must be mad at them for some reason. And that's not the case. Life itself, I wasn't even mad at, but for some odd reason, I need to be all jumpy, jumpy when my kids walk through the front door, or I need to have a big smile on my face
Right.
that would positively reinforce that I'm happy. Well,
right. And
how
that's what
can
you
you
want
not
to
tell
teach
me
your
that I'm not happy?
right. That's what you want to teach your kids because when you go to work, your spouse and everybody else is happy. So you want to be happy. Like you want to be happy. Here's the secret. Parents, you definitely want to go ahead and do this. Like what you do is say yes to your kids, everything. If you just tell them yes, can I do this? Can I shoot the gun in the yes? Can I shoot my brother? Oh, absolutely yes. You just say yes to him, and then your kids will go ahead and think you're a happy parent. And it's not good enough to be, have one happy. You got to have both of your parents happy because you know what? When you're a happy parent, like just look at how effective it's been for Rosanna. Like, look at how much her kids listen to her because she's the happy parent. Listen, like, just look at how, just look at that and just like that's what you want to do. You want to model that. You want to be happy. You want to do now, just for if any of you think I'm the happy parent, it's because I got a smile and I'm bouncing around and enjoying it. And it's like, oh my
Yeah,
God.
I think you're the crazy, crazy parent, Dad. Some of
Right,
those have those. A rare, rare breed.
right.
Um, I don't know. I don't know how exactly to help the again. I love you guys all, but I don't know how to help you guys. I mean, again, I don't have kids, so it's a little bit different.
Well,
It's
yeah,
very
but answer this. If like how did you make the connection just because your parent was not smiling at you when you walked through that door that your parent was mad at you? How do you make that connection?
um often with my wife at least is I'm not even sure. Like sometimes she's not talking. She's just not really. And what's wrong? She won't tell me the first time. I ask her what's wrong. And she won't tell me a third, fourth, fifth time, sixth time, seventh time. Um, maybe it's the factor of where they're seeing you and they see everyone else, and they got maybe teachers that, walk in the door and they see them smiling. Hey, how you guys doing? They don't got to deal with those kids all the time, but I'm not saying that it's with the kids. It's if they see you and you're not smiling, you're not go giddy, they're not gonna. It's just gonna be to where it's like they might just assume the worst.
So
I'm
here
not
might-
exactly
But
sure.
even but
This
even
might
after
help in my-
confirmation of saying no, I'm not upset, I'm not mad. Why would you still say, "Oh, you're mad at me. You don't like me. You
This
don't
might
this, you
help
don't that."
you, Lane. This might help, okay? So when Ben and I were on vacation, Ben was hurt by something his mother said. Now, again, this is very important for people to understand context. She's the happy one. But he was hurt by something she said. And what he did is he transferred it over onto me. So he was hurt with me based on something she said. So I think, Elaine, what's happening, not 100%, this is complicated, different age, boys, girls, different personalities. There's a lot of different things here. But I think what happens is often people will go ahead and transfer their feelings onto the person, the parent, that can handle it.
Right. Yeah, Dad's onto something here. Often when a kid comes home and they start accusing you of not being happy, or Dad did this trick all the time. Do you have something to tell me? They might be reflecting whether or not, hey, you might know something that they did that was not right. Where they might be trying to ask you, hey, why are you upset? Because they might think, oh, I did something and you might know. And they're trying to figure it out. Again, this is not all the time, but my dad that did that trick so much where it's just like, you have something to tell me. Because there's a list of things, especially at that age, where it's like, yeah, I didn't tell my dad about this. I'm doing something that's not right. Does he know that's the game I'm playing right now?
So it might be what Ben is saying, it might be guilt. So because they feel guilty about something, they could be angry with you, or they could be projecting something onto you. You're not happy because they're not happy. Why aren't they happy? Because they have guilt. It might be because they're mad at one of their friends or at a teacher or something else, at somebody else in authority. So people often take things out on the person around them they feel is the strongest. So Shelly, Ben's wife, might be angry with her mom or her friends or somebody else. Obviously not her father-in-law, but she might be angry or upset with somebody, but she's not going to maybe take it out on that person. She's going to take it out on Ben. She might even think Ben's unhappy when Ben's not unhappy. So I think with the driver personality, Elaine, people will think the other personalities will say, if I had a tone or a voice like that, I would be angry or upset. So they think that they're like you when they're not at all like you. So they project onto you the things that are in their own heart, maybe.
So one thought I have about that is I think our children at times, even when they get to be 20, 24, 26, is they put more weight on what they think, what they see in connection with you. And even if you are clear to them, I am not angry at you. I had a bad day at work. You tell them what it was, that you're not like your normal way or whatever, and it has nothing to do with them. Even if that happens, I think my experience with some of my kids is they believe their own opinions even over what you say. Does that make sense, Elaine?
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So then, I mean, I just had this conversation with my son yesterday where I just said, hey, this is my experience with you. My experience is you can think something about me and and it doesn't matter what I say, you will continue to think that I am the way, or I think the way, or I feel the way you think I feel, even when you tell me this is what it is. And I say, no, that's not what I was trying to say. That's not what I think or believe. And, and so if you don't trust me to know what I'm doing and why, then you're going to constantly think what you think. And there's nothing I can do about that.
So
And
I
know
think
that
the thing, go ahead. Were you done or not?
sure.
So I don't think a lot of this is somebody's opinion. I don't think it's somebody's thoughts. I think it's people's feelings. And I think when it gets to the feeling level for most human beings, I think their feelings, I think their feelings are truth. I mean, once it hits a feeling, it seems like, then that feeling is absolute truth because they have a feeling. I think that society reinforces that a lot. I think that a lot of the popular culture, I think that a lot of, I think a lot of counseling therapy is about your feelings. And so when people, it's all about feelings, it's like, well, my feelings are this. Okay, your feelings are that. If people are not learned, if people are not taught to understand that just because I'm feeling something doesn't make it true, and they don't understand how to connect the feelings with the thinking, this is not going to go well for anybody. How do you connect feelings with thinking?
Could
Right. So go ahead.
could that lead into entitlement?
Feelings?
Yeah, feeling that way.
I believe so. Totally. I believe it leads into feel entitlement, self-righteous, and victims. And I think they all feed on one another. I'm entitled for my parents to treat me this way. As a 3-year-old, as a 15-year-old, as a 25-year-old, as a
Right.
59-year-old, I'm entitled to this. And you know what? Because my feelings are really strong, like I am also self-righteous. You're wrong, I'm right. And you know what? My feelings are more important than your feelings. And you know what? I'm going to tell you, Mark, Dad, your feelings are important. But when it
So
comes,
if we backtrack on what we originally, it's if you can teach your kids to think differently, like if you can teach your kids to think differently and how they process, hurt, how they process guilt, how they process all that. If there's a way, which I think there very, very much is, if you could teach your kids to think differently and you give them the tools to think differently, I think that could really, really make a difference on when they come home and they see that you're just having a normal day, but they come home and they think as a normal kid, you're not smiling, something's wrong. If you can teach them to think differently, I think that could be probably the biggest key. And I think Dad probably, or Mark could probably figure that out for you, where it's just like, hey, this is the first thing you should try to teach them.
well, I think it's a combination, right? I think it's a combination. And so, Ben is going to be very, very strong. So Mark's going to be driver analytic driver. Ben is going to be expressive, amiable, expressive. He and I are just wired like totally opposite. And so understanding what Ben is saying, like what is he saying? Is he saying that the parent should always be happy and smiling and everything. He's not saying that. He's not saying that at all. Is Mark saying that that the parent should never be that way? No, he's not saying that at all either. So can you get the child talking about, can you get the child talking about their feelings and their thoughts and not have their feelings overwhelm their thoughts? A number of my adult children have been calling me a fair amount, which is fine. And what's interesting is they start off with wanting to share how tough their lives are. And a new technique that I've had over the last 3 months or so is when they share their feelings on how tough their lives are, I share my feeling on how tough my life is. And it's weird because they actually go ahead and say, Dad, I feel a lot better now because your life's a lot tougher than mine. So again, it's perspective. It's having the ability, like when my girls were going through their time of the month when they were teenagers, and it's like, you know what, sweetheart, Dad doesn't understand he's not a girl. I get it. I know I'm not a girl. So I get it. I'm not a girl. So I just want you to know, if you're miserable, it's okay to be miserable. Just don't make the people around you miserable too. Like if you want to be sad, be happy about being sad. Like it's okay to be sad, but just learn, like, how do we teach people to be self-aware? Like, other thoughts or questions? For the after show, sorry, go ahead.
I think that's all I got there. Yeah, it's the reason that I said mostly it's a happy, connected person. If you want, like, again, it's not the only way to connect with the kids, but if you're happy and, excited and smiling, it's easier to connect with someone in most cases, not all cases, but it's easier to connect with someone who's smiling and willing and look like they're open to what you're about to say. So I think that's where I was kind of going with it. Not necessarily, hey, you have to be happy all the time. It's just if you're trying to connect with your kid and you're trying to understand them at a deeper level, they're more likely to open up to you. If you're, hey, how you doing? How was your day? What's going on? Like, I understand. Like, it's simple little words like that where it's like, okay, that makes sense.
And so Ben is speaking from a perspective of an expressive, amiable. So if you have a child that's an expressive, amiable, that's probably how you're going to go ahead. No, Ben?
I mean, again, it seems like it's like I'm speaking of like a teenager. Again, I don't know how right I am, but I feel like it's like if you're
think it's global, you think all teenagers are the same?
No, I don't think all teenagers are same. I'm saying, like, don't you feel that for someone who's upset and had a bad day at school or is confused on what's going on in life, don't you think it's easier to talk to a happier, more approachable human being than someone who looks like they're upset? They might not be upset, but they just look like they're upset. Don't you think it's easier to approach someone like that? You agree with that or no?
Yes, easy.
Easier for the kid.
Yeah,
for the kid is what I'm saying.
Definitely. And definitely that's what you want as a parent, is to make your kids' lives easier, because that will prepare them for being an adult.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I don't know. I was more or less trying to say, hey, if you want to connect to your kid and understand what's going on with their life, they're more likely to go to the happier parent that they have an issue or they did something stupid. They're
So
gonna
it
approach
might-
the nicer parent before they approach the mean one.
Right. And so this is where the kids got this down. They mastered this when they were small, when they were just, preteen teen, they would say openly, they say, if we want to feel better, go to mom, the amiable. She's the
Right.
happy one. She's if you want to feel better, go to mom. If you want to fix something, go to dad. And so they understand a lot more than we recognize. This might help, might not. When I was 23 years old, I realized that when my wife was approaching me with a problem, that she didn't necessarily want me to go ahead and fix the problem. As a man, or maybe as a driver, I don't know what, driver analytic, I like to fix problems. So I think the probably same thing is true with your kids, with our kids. They don't want the problem to be fixed necessarily. So sometimes what I observed with my wife is that sometimes she wanted me just to listen. Sometimes she wanted me to go ahead and say, honey, I think you and I can fix this problem together. Sometimes she wanted me to say, honey, you are a strong, amazing woman. I think you can fix this, this thing on your own. Sometimes she wanted me to go ahead and say, honey, I've got this. I'll fix it. And sometimes she would say, she would want me to do something that, I don't want to stereotype men, but for me at least, she would want me to say something that I cannot bring my brain to process. And that is, honey, I don't know what to say. This problem is not fixable. So those are 5 things that I observed at 23 years old about my wife. Now, what was tricky about being her husband is that she didn't know which of the 5 she wanted. And so it's like playing Russian roulette. like I'd try one and it wouldn't work. I'd try another, it didn't work. I'd try another, it didn't work. And so then I came up with a technique and said, hey, honey, okay, you got a problem. I'm not sure which of the 5 you would want, you'd want. So we'd talk about, these are 5 things. Which do you want me to do? And when I did that, what am I thinking her response is going to be? I'm thinking she's going to say, wow, what a great loving husband. This guy's really caring and compassionate about me. This guy's amazing. Like he's studied me. He knows 5 different responses. He wants to do the right thing. She's going to think, I'm an amazing husband. Give me a hug. Thank me. That's what I thought she would respond. How did she actually respond?
Angry and upset.
Why would somebody be angry and upset when you're trying to help them and trying to figure out what they want?
Not what they wanted to hear.
What do you mean? What do they want to hear?
Oh, woe is me.
Well, that's just listen.
What did they want to hear?
They have no idea.
I think she got angry because she wants you to know something that she doesn't even know herself. Like she wants you to know what she needs. And because you did the 5 different things and she doesn't know which of those 5, then she got angry because it's like she just wants you to know what she needs and do it.
Exactly. So once I learned that, I'm like, this husband thing, dang, this is hard. Like, holy cow. How am I supposed to know something about her that she doesn't even know about herself? What in the world am I supposed to do? So this is my approach. I took a Ben approach to this. I'm like, oh, honey, it seems like there's a problem. There is a problem. Okay, so don't get angry or upset with me. Okay. I'm not sure which of the 5 that there is. So can you give me a little hint? Or if you can't, it's okay. Don't get angry with me. I mean, I'm happy. I'm smiling. I'm happy. I'm good. So can you go ahead and either give me a little hint, or can you go ahead, if I choose one and I choose the wrong one, I'll choose another one. And that worked a little bit better. If your wife is laughing at you or with you, if she's laughing, it's hard to be mad. But then they can be angry with you for making them happy, especially she's the happy mom. She's the happy parent. And so when you make when the happy parent's not. Anyways, so that worked a little bit better. But then, I started getting good at this. And do you know what the next thing I discovered about it is?
Gonna happen again.
What's weird is that often what they want is actually not what they need. It's actually not the best thing. Like, what a novel concept. Like, okay, so I give her what she wants and she's still angry with me because it's not what she needs. As a matter of fact, it seems like often what she needs is actually what she's going to go ahead and be most angry about. Now, Mark, are you saying that your wife is like a child? I didn't say that at all. I'm just saying human behavior is human behavior. And I think often we as adults think we change and we're not acting or thinking like children, when in reality, I think we often are. Because we're not thinking. If somebody ever says to you, you think too much, just smile and say, or a family member said this last week, Mark, and it extended, one of the significant others of my children is kind of humorous, says, Mark, every lesson doesn't have to be, or every situation in life doesn't have to be a learning lesson. My kids said that to me forever. I never had a good response for them, but now I do have a good response. Somebody ever says that again to me, Mark, every lesson doesn't have to be a learning lesson. I'll say, well, I guess that depends, doesn't it? On what? If you want to have a significant life or not. So,
boom, roasted.
Right? I wish I'd have thought that when Ben was 12. Dad, it doesn't have to be every lesson, doesn't. I guess it depends, Ben, doesn't it? Like he's a great kid. I'm not saying he's my favorite. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying he's not. I'm just saying that, if I had said that to him when he was 12, maybe a lot of things would have been different. I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying, maybe it would have been different. Or, maybe it wouldn't have. I don't know. Anybody else have anything else?
In the future, I feel like everyone should be advised they should take an Advil before they jump on this podcast. Their head's going to hurt.
So Ben, a lot of times he mocks me. He tempts and he taunts.
Someone's got to.
And often he does it and he doesn't even realize he's doing it. It's a reflex to him. It's to get his father to go ahead and laugh and be the happy parent, the smiling parent. And now I just want you all to know that now that Ben's living on his own and he's married, I am much more happy now than I was when he was a teenage boy. He would probably acknowledge that.
Right back at you, Dad.
But I'm not nearly as happy and I'm not smiling nearly as much now as I will be in the next little while. Well, Mark, what would cause you to smile more? Oh, when Ben becomes a dad, I'm going to be doing a lot of smiling. I'm going to be doing a lot. Man, is this going to be a fun time? The before and after, the before and after, they're fun. I'm telling you, you got to go ahead and show up because that's where the real great stuff, the choice meat, the stuff that's the juiciest, the stuff that's the most amazing. That's what you want to do. You want to make sure that you be careful. Always think it's up to a 30-minute podcast. Anything beyond that is always a gift from you to me to you, and us to one another. And always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.